You hand over a piece of plastic, a machine beeps, and somehow a coffee appears in your hand. You never once think about what just happened. But the real answer to how this works is far stranger than you imagine. Because that beep is the end of a 5,000-year experiment. An experiment that started with a farmer, a jar of grain, and a problem he could not solve. Picture it. 10,000 years ago, you are that farmer. You grow wheat. Your neighbor raises goats. You need milk. He does not need wheat today. He wants sandals instead. So now what? You need to find a sandal maker who happens to want wheat at the exact moment you have wheat to give. The odds of that lining up perfectly are almost zero. Economists call this the coincidence of wants. Two people, two needs, rarely matching at the same time in the same place. For thousands of years, this was the quiet, grinding problem behind almost every trade on Earth. And here is where it gets strange. Historians used to believe that money grew directly out of barter, village to village, coin replacing goat, slowly and naturally. But the deeper the evidence goes, the less that story holds up. Around 5,000 years ago, in the region between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, something else was happening. This was Mesopotamia. Cities were growing, temples were growing, and with them, a problem of memory. Archaeologist Schmandt-Besserat spent years studying small clay objects found across ancient Mesopotamian sites. Cones, spheres, discs. At first, nobody knew what they were for. Her research revealed something remarkable. These tiny clay tokens were used to track debts. One token for a jar of oil, another for a measure of grain. Not barter. A record, because grain was the first real currency. Barley, specifically. Temples paid workers in barley. Debts were counted in barley. An entire economy running on something you could eat. But grain has a flaw, a dangerous one. It rots. It gets eaten by rats. It takes an entire cart to move a small fortune of it anywhere. Try carrying your life savings in a wheelbarrow of wheat. Now imagine trying to pay a house with it. You would need an army of oxen just to deliver the payment. So humans reached for something else, something rare, something that did not rot, did not spoil, and did not take a wagon to carry. Metal, silver, gold, copper. By around 3000 BCE, the Mesopotamians were using set weights of silver, called shekels, to measure the value of trade. Not coins yet, just weighed metal, cut and measured like ingredients in a recipe. Here is the twist most people never learn in school. Coins, the round metal discs you picture in your head right now, did not appear until thousands of years later, around 600 BCE, in the kingdom of Lydia, in what is now Western Turkey. The Lydians used a natural alloy of gold and silver called electrum. They stamped it with an official mark. That stamp was the real invention, not the metal. The trust, because a stamped coin told everyone the exact same thing. This piece is worth what it claims to be worth. You didn't need to weigh it. You didn't need to test it. You only needed to trust the mark. Trust became currency. And once that trust existed, it spread like fire through dry grass. Greek city-states adopted coins. Persia adopted coins. Trade routes stretched farther than they ever had because merchants no longer needed to haul sacks of grain across deserts. But even coins had a weight problem. A merchant carrying a fortune in gold across the Silk Road was carrying a target on his back. Bandits didn't need to guess what he was hiding. So, around the 7th century in Tang Dynasty China, something new appeared. Merchants began depositing heavy coins with trusted agents in exchange for a paper receipt, a slip of paper you could carry in your sleeve that represented real metal sitting safely somewhere else. This was the seed of paper money, not wealth itself, a promise of wealth, a story printed on paper that everyone agreed to believe. And that's the moment the entire idea of money quietly changed forever. Because from that point on, money was never really about the material. It was about the agreement. Think about what you're holding right now, even if it's just a number on a screen. A coin is only metal. A bill is only paper. Neither one can feed you, clothe you, or shelter you. Money works only because millions of strangers, most of whom will never meet, silently agree to believe in the exact same fiction at the exact same time in the same place. Historian and anthropologist David Graeber argued something similar in his research on the history of debt. He showed that many early economies weren't built on simple trade at all. They were built on obligation, on memory, on who owed what to whom, which means the barter story you were taught in school, two cavemen awkwardly trading fish for spears, was likely never the true starting point. The starting point was trust, debt, record-keeping, long before the first coin was ever struck. So the next time someone tells you money is just paper, you can tell them the truth. Money was never really about grain or metal or paper at all. It was always about belief, and that belief still runs the world today. When you tap your card at checkout, no gold moves, no grain changes hands, just a number adjusting silently inside a database, backed by nothing but collective trust. When you check your banking app and see a balance, you're looking at the same idea the Mesopotamians carved into clay 5,000 years ago, a record, a promise, nothing more physical than that. Cryptocurrency didn't invent this idea either. It only stripped away the last physical layer. No coin, no paper, just code, and a shared agreement that the code means something. From barley in a temple storeroom, to silver shekels, to paper receipts, to a glowing number on your phone. Every version was the same idea, wearing a different disguise. The medium kept changing. The core idea never did. Value exists only where people agree it exists. So look at your wallet or your banking app right now. It's not really money you're looking at. It's trust wearing a costume that has changed 100 times across 5,000 years. And somewhere a farmer with a jar of grain is the reason any of this exists at all. A problem he could not solve became the invisible system running your entire life. So here's the real question worth sitting with. If money has changed its shape this many times already, from grain to metal to paper to invisible code, what do you think it becomes next? And when it changes again, will you even notice? Or will it feel just as invisible and automatic as tapping your card does today? You hand over a piece of plastic, a machine beeps, and somehow a coffee appears in your hand. Except now you know. That beep is not magic. It's 5,000 years of belief compressed into half a second.